oblivion? Worried about inflation? How do you prepare for so many financial uncertainties? Welcome to the show that will help you develop your game plan. The Financial Quarterback with Josh Jalinski. Josh is a noted financial advisor and president of the Jalinski Advisory Group, and he's here to answer your questions. Call into the show at 800-321-0710. 800-321-0710. Now, let's kick off your financial future. Here's Josh Jalinski.
A lot of you are worried about the market, and we're going to give you some financial planning tips that are good whether the market goes up or down. According to IRAHelp.com, more and more 401k plans now offer Roth contributions. At the same time, Americans are changing jobs and receiving 401k distributions in record numbers. So it's a good time to review the tax rules that apply to Roth 401k withdrawals. The same also apply to Roth 403b if you're in a nonprofit, or Roth 457b. Now, fundamentally, I read a book called The 401k Hoax, The 401k Dilemma. My first few years in the industry, I hated 401ks and I didn't put any money in them. But living in a high tax state like New Jersey, you get 30 to 40 cents on every dollar you put in back, and that money grows. Yes, you're growing a tax lien, and I'll get to some strategies to mitigate taxes when you retire. But that really isn't a problem till you have like $2 to $3, $4 million within an IRA. Here's what I mean. The big problem of the 401k, the biggest problem is deferred taxes. So that guy at work who comes to your cafeteria and says, you know what, you'll be in a lower tax bracket when you retire. What an idiot. I don't know about you. I don't want to be in a lower tax bracket when I retire. I want to be in the highest bracket. So that never made sense to me, because it would have meant that my 401k stunk. So that being said, if you're just starting out, if you don't have above a certain amount, how do I get that $2 to $3 million? Well, if you have $3 million in an IRA, and most people don't, so that's why I'm saying this, the typical RMD, that's the required minimum distribution, is about 3.8%. So let's call it 4 just to make it easy. That's 120 grand a year. That does not put you in the highest tax bracket. So if you have a 401k plus Social Security, you might be in a 24% bracket or less. But you might be in a 12% bracket now, or a 10. And if that's the case, you need to look at Roths, and you need to look at insurance contracts or tax advantage things like trusts, things that don't pay dividends, stocks that don't pay dividends, so that you avoid paying taxes on money you're not spending. So financial tip of the day, don't pay taxes on money you're not spending. Somebody wanted to know about an IUL. I'll ask about that because there are a lot of people who have questions on IUL. I don't know why so many people have questions on IULs right now. I guess it's due to social media. It's like a social media craze. So we'll get to your question, Chiba, if you want to raise your hand. But first, we're going to go to Joe. Go ahead, Joe.
Yes, Josh, listen to you all the time. I value your opinions. I wanted to find out the differences when I go on to my financial institute on treasuries that say 0 and treasury notes. When you're buying treasuries, how do you make the difference on that?
Yeah, we can't give you direct advice, but generally there are T-bonds, treasury bonds, treasury notes, and treasury bills. See, this is a lot of, right. I occasionally see people that go, I read some article, I can get 4% on a treasury. And I did it, and I went to my advisor, and then I'm not getting anything. What gives? Or you go on the web and you buy incorrectly. This is not something you want to do, in my opinion, alone, unless you're fairly sophisticated. But they pay different maturities. They can pay interest in different ways. Some bonds mature in 20 or 30 years, some in 10. T-notes are between 2 and 10 years. T-bonds mature in 20 or 30 years. T-bills have the shortest maturity terms from 4 weeks to a year. And these investments are auctioned off regularly on the U.S. Treasury's website. You can go to treasurydirect.gov for more. But a lot of people...
And then the other thing I wanted to know is I-bonds.
Sure.
What's your feeling on I-bonds?
Well, I-bonds are fairly easier because you can get them from your tax return, or you can go to treasurydirect.gov, set up an electronic account, just buy them direct. You can put 10 in for you, 10 in for a spouse, 10 in for a child. They're not the be-all, end-all. Also, folks, I know a lot of people, they want to tie their money up for a year, 2 years. We may be at a position where rates are 8 or 9%, or this may be the peak. It all depends on the inflation readings. So nobody knows.
Well, why are the I-bonds selling, giving 9.5%?
Because the inflation reading was up.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, and if you buy it now, you'll get 9% to October, and then they set the new rate. Might be a little less. It probably will be strong, though. Also realize the base rate on an I-bond is 0. So there may come a time if rates go down, you want out of that. But hey, if you have money sitting around at a bank earning 0.03, an I-bond's a much better option. And treasuries are a much better option right now.
Now,
And-
do you expect most of the savings institutions to raise their interest?
Yeah, don't hold your breath. I called leading banks. Some are, by the way. We have brokerage accounts through Fidelity and Schwab, and their money market reserve accounts are like 2% now. So they're pretty strong. But I called Bank of America the other day. I said, oh, what's your rate? 0.03 if you're a preferred vendor. So I would shop around right now. If you're looking for bank rates, we can help you shop around for better rates on your cash, okay?
I know, as you mentioned, I have money in there and it's just laying there and it's making 8 cents every month.
Well, now's your time. The old days are back. See, this is the problem. Everybody thinks that high interest rates, and I do believe they are a problem on the macro level. Our country's debt is unsustainable. So the government, the Fed, everybody has a vested interest in keeping those rates down. But on your personal finances can actually be a good thing. Tie your money up for 2 years and you get 4%. Where are you getting that now? Well, you can get that now. 3 years, 4%. If you don't want to go buying treasury auctions and things like that, go through an insurance company. They do that for you for no fee. Okay. Generally, there's only a surrender charge if you cancel. So if it's all too complicated for you, we can help you at 888-988-JOSH. But you got to realize the good thing is we are headed into a golden age of interest rates. I have so many clients who said, I long for the day of a 5% CD. If I just had 5% on my money, I'd be okay. 4% on your money, I'd be okay. Now you have that. People say, oh, well, I want to wait a year because they might be higher. They might be higher, they may be lower. I remember December of 2018, the Powell pivot. Rates shot up for a month. Wasn't as persistent as it is now. They shot up a little longer than that, but it was about a month or two where investors could lock in some really good rates on bonds, fixed income stuff. And people be like, I'll do it next year. I'll do it in 6 months. We may not have that luxury. If we're sitting at S&P 3,000 a month from now, and I'm not saying we are, the S&P can go to 3,000, go back up to 4,400. We live in that type of world where next week, no one exactly knows what's going to happen. Market's going to rip higher or it's going to rip lower. I mean, that's pretty true.
Well, I noticed when I call the bank, they refer you to an equity person and he wants to put you in annuities.
Okay. Well, you got to watch for annuities. What are the fees? What are the surrender charges? Now, if you buy a straight fixed annuity or MIGA, there is no fee on that. It's like a CD. The fee is only if you cash out early. And I've seen MIGA rates, 4.05% for 3 years. I've seen index annuities, and this is with no internal fee, caps of 9 or 10 on the S&P, floor of 0. So if the S&P goes down from here, you don't lose any money. If the S&P goes up from here, you're capped at 9 or 10% for the year. So they're very strong rates. Now, those are subject to surrender charge schedules, so you got to watch for that. You got to learn the terms and conditions and all that stuff. So, but it's not a bad time to be a senior. For years, from 08 to today, there was only about 1 or 2 periods of time where rates were really strong. So you got to look at the good right now, which is interest rates are high.
I'm 84 years old, so I don't want to, lose any money, which I did in the last few days.
Yeah, so if you're concerned about your portfolio, I always tell people, if you have money in the stock market, if you're speculating, if you own Bitcoin, you shouldn't be buying it for 1 year out. You should be buying it for 5 to 10 years out. You should have a 10-year time horizon on all risk assets, whether it be buying a house for investment, buying stock. Now, sure, you could speculate, if you see a reason to, but on risk-based assets, you should look at a longer time horizon. But I get your age.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your advice.
Yeah, I get your age, though. You don't have that. So you should probably consider, when we have, people in their 80s or whatever, you shouldn't really have more than 20, 30% in the stock market anyway.
Yeah, I had a little less, right.
80% in fixed income, 20% in equities, just as a little bit of a hedge. So, great call. We're going to go to our first break of the hour. When we return, we're going to talk about gold, how gold has not been the safe haven it was once thought of. When we return, this is Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback, and we're going to talk about Roth 401ks, the 401k tax dilemma, and what you can do. Here's the thing, nobody knows the future, but I will tell you that with the debt the way it is, taxes will probably go up, not down. So how can you plan around that if you make too much money to do a regular Roth IRA? We'll talk about that when we return. And the dreaded MITE, the massive income tax acceleration bill known as the Secure Act, when we return. This is Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
Maybe it seems like prices can't get much higher, or that the stock market is headed for bear territory, or maybe you're worried about another great recession. Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback, can help you protect your family's financial future in times like these. Tune in this weekend to the Financial Quarterback to hear how Josh and his team can help you decrease your tax liability and lower your risk. Call 888-988-5674 to take advantage of Josh's 27-point plan to achieve financial health. And when you call, you'll receive a free copy of Josh's book, Retirement Reality Check. Tune in every weekend to the Financial Quarterback and call 888-988-5674 to receive your free copy of Retirement Reality Check. Tune in to the Financial Quarterback Josh Jalinski this weekend and learn how to protect your financial future in a down economy. Josh and his team at the Jalinski Advisory Group can help you lower your taxes and lower your risk in these uncertain times with a 27-point checklist designed to improve your financial health. Whether you're worried about runaway prices, fear of an upcoming recession, or a stock market meltdown, tune in to the Financial Quarterback and count on Josh Jalinski to call the play. For a free copy of Josh's book, The Retirement Reality Check, call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674. Or visit Jalinski.org. That's JALINSKI.org. Okay, we're back taking your calls at 800
321-0710. If you have questions, we had a question in the chat box. What about an IUL? IUL is something that's trending on social media. It's called Index Universal Life. And the sales pitch sort of goes like this. Taxes are on sale right now, similar to a Roth. The beauty of a life insurance contract is that it can grow tax-free. Technically, life insurance is tax-deferred. And if you cancel your contract, it's a taxable event if there's gains in the contract. However, if you take money out via policy withdrawals up to basis and then you loan the difference, so let's say you put in 200 grand and you have 300 grand of cash value, I don't know, 15 years from now. You can take the 200 grand out as a withdrawal without any tax, and you can loan the difference. So IUL is becoming a bit of a craze. There's a problem I have with IUL. Although many IULs could be structured positively, most of the agents will pad the commissions on an IUL, so there will be higher internal fees within the policy. Now, IUL can work for some if it is properly funded and designed. But I don't know who sold you the IUL, and I certainly don't trust some guy, peddling a B-rated insurance company on social media. But essentially, what are the risks of IUL? Number one, the caps. So I mentioned an indexed annuity could have a cap of 9 or 10. And indexing, I don't mean an index fund, I mean the concept of indexing is whereby you give your money to an insurance company, they put that in their general account, generally treasuries, bonds, A+ rated corporate debt, and then they take the yield off of those bonds and they buy a long call option on the S&P. So if you put 100 grand in, there might be administrative costs, so let's say 95 grand goes to work. That 95 grand could make 0, it could make 10. So think of it this way. It goes into their general account. If they do really well with that call option, they may give you 8 or 9% interest. If the stock market goes down, you don't make any interest. However, in an IUL, this is distinct from whole life. On the whole life side, if you're going to buy that, you should only buy a dividend-paying participating contract from a mutual insurer. In whole life, your cost of insurance is fixed. In IUL, your cost is growing exponentially. So in many cases, the big risk of IUL is as you age, the policy could blow up. So certainly not a fun thing. And a lot of multi-level marketers are now selling this, and these people know nothing about insurance contracts. Now, life insurance, along with Roths, are a great tool if you're wealthy and are worried about higher taxes, whether it be estate taxes, income tax, things like that, and can be used as a part of the overall financial planning process. But some people, like anything, they oversell it. So the risks on an IUL are the caps can change every year, and the insurance company sets them. And then they could raise the rate every year. Now, when do you know an insurance company that hasn't taken the liberty to raise rates if they were allowed? Now, we do know a few that have a good history of not raising rates, but they still have that in their contract. They're allowed to do that. If you have anything with the word UL, it has a rising cost of insurance, as opposed to ordinary life or permanent life from a dividend carrier. Some people might use the phrase whole life. That does not have a rising cost. So if you're looking at buying, for estate planning or things like that, because, for example, Joe Robbie Stadium. Remember the Miami Dolphins stadium was called Joe Robbie Stadium. It is no longer called Joe Robbie Stadium because Joe Robbie was an idiot. Although he was worth $100 million, he did not buy life insurance. He didn't agree with it. WOR, our flagship station, the Buckley family, had to sell it because of estate taxes. They didn't go see me. They should have. But generally speaking, very wealthy people will buy large life insurance to pay the estate tax when they die. It's kind of a normal thing that people do. They will.
So,
oh, go ahead.
Josh, can I ask a quick question
Sure.
on that? So, did you say it's UL?
Universal life is.
That's the one where the cost is variable on insurance and it goes up over time,
Yes.
or it's subject to. So then you're saying whole life doesn't have that and it's a fixed insurance cost. What would be the disadvantage there by comparison?
You could have less growth. But I want growth in my Bitcoin. I want growth in my stocks. I want growth in my index funds, ETFs, no load funds, all that stuff. I don't really look to grow my money in insurance. Insurance is generally going to give you today like a 5% dividend. The internal rate of return on the cash value might be like 4 to 5%. Now that's in a lower interest rate period. When interest rates are higher, they generally pass that on. Sometimes there's a lag. It actually, in rising interest rates, whole life could theoretically be better. But IUL is the craze all over social media right now. And a majority of these people were selling knives out of their mother's car 2 years ago. And they don't know what the heck they're talking about. So when looking at insurance for estate planning, I would look at a company that has a fixed cost. But not a lot of companies do that anymore because they have to have a lot of capital and reserves. I think there's like 11 companies that I know of that don't raise their rates on a permanent policy and still have cash value growth. And then people say, oh, it's a bad investment. It's not an investment. It's insurance. You're using it to protect your family and kind of using the cash as a bank savings alternative. You know, so instead of making 0.03, you're making about, you know, in today's environment, you're making about 4 to 5 on an internal rate of return after the cost of insurance. Theoretically, the IUL could earn more, right? It could earn 8, it could earn 9. But after you factor in costs of insurance and that it goes up every year, unless you have somebody who properly designs it, where they buy the least amount of insurance, and even many people will say they buy the least, and they don't, because they'll buy whatever the company is pushing. A lot of agents are dumb too, right? Like they go to conventions, they get all hopped up on booze and whiskey, and you know they get wined and dined just like the consumer. So you got to realize, what is your advisor selling you? What is your agent selling you? Are they looking at other products? You know, we always shop around if we're looking for insurance or anything. You know, and we'll show our clients, hey, we shop these 3 or 4 vendors. Here are the quotes given your scenario, so you don't have to. So I hope that helps. Okay, next up, we're going to go to the phone lines at 800-321-0710. But why is universal life and why are Roths gaining popularity? Because people believe that taxes are on sale. So what that means is, I believe they're on sale. The average person might be in a 12% tax bracket, 15% tax bracket. Folks, that is historically low. And I distrust the government. I think eventually they'll screw people on 401ks just like they do on everything else. But it'll take time. And I know many people who are middle-class millionaires. I actually know more people who are middle-class millionaires, meaning they came from nothing, made 50 to 100 grand a year, saved religiously, and they have $1 million to $2 million in their name because of the 401k. So although it is flawed, although I do not trust it entirely, it's all we got, right? I mean, think about it. How many write-offs do you really have? Jim, do you know, what are your write-offs?
I don't know, Josh.
You don't have that many anymore. You have your kids, and if your kids are older, can't write them off anymore. You have your 401k retirement plan contribution, and you have your mortgage interest, which, due to the Trump tax code, many of you can't even itemize anymore. So the beauty of a 401k is you don't have to itemize, and you get a deduction, and you don't have to itemize, and charitable. But other than that, like, what write-offs are there? Used to be, you get to write off an alpaca, a horse farm. And there are still ways to be creative, and you can write off this or that. But generally, the write-off means you're losing money. So people go, I own a commercial building, and, it's vacant. And people go, oh, well, at least you got the write-offs. Well, no, I'm paying $200,000 a year in upkeep and property taxes and all this. So real estate is not what it's cracked up to be, even though it's a great tax benefit if you play it right. And you might say, well, you were dumb. You bought commercial. Yeah, well, that was what you were supposed to buy 10 years ago. So, and if it's owner-occupied, I own my building in it, at least I don't have to pay somebody else rent. But the point is, very few deductions left. So another thing I see on social media is people decrying the 401k. Here's why I don't think it matters that much. If you have $2 million, I said this before, but I'll say it again, the RMD, the amount the government forces you to take out, is about 4%. That's $80,000 a year. You add that to the average couple retiring might make $60,000 a year combined in Social Security. 80 plus 60 does not put you in the highest bracket. So you have to have north of I would even say north of $3 million in an IRA before the taxes are really a problem. So I know it's popular, but also a lot of people are bad savers. Now, if you can save it on your own. So when I was young, starting out my company, for the first 8 years, I didn't put any money in a 401k because I wanted money available for my business. I wanted money for liquidity purposes, and I wanted to fuel the money in my business. But then you hit a certain age where you're kind of doing the same thing every year, and you got to realize you got to build wealth. A lot of you are building your business, but nobody's really going to give you $2 million for your business when you retire. They'll give you like 10 grand or 50 grand for goodwill. I'll tell you what, that could be a good business opportunity. Buy boomers' businesses during this next recession because they're ready to retire, and they're going to look around and no one's going to want their business. And they might have a pile of cash stashed around. That's why you want to diversify and build. And when I say diversify, I don't mean it in the financial advisor speak of having many different funds. I mean having many different strategies. Have a bearish strategy. Have a bullish strategy. Have an ETF strategy. Have an individual stock strategy. Have a Bitcoin strategy. Have many different things so that no matter what the future holds, you are anti-fragile. So we'll talk more about Roth 401k distribution. By the way, if you make too much to do a Roth IRA and you're a business owner, you can set up a Roth 401k and you can make an unlimited amount of money and sock away money tax-free. Kind of like the Peter Thiel concept. When we return, this is Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback. Call us now, 800-321-0710 if you have a question, or type your questions in the chat box. We're live on YouTube. And I will be doing an exciting graphic on, maybe not that exciting, but I will break down the history of the income tax and why you need to know it. When we return, this is Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
Maybe it seems like prices can't get much higher, or that the stock market is headed for bear territory, or maybe you're worried about another great recession. Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback, can help you protect your family's financial future in times like these. Tune in this weekend to the financial quarterback to hear how Josh and his team can help you decrease your tax liability and lower your risk. Call 888-988-5674 to take advantage of Josh's 27-point plan to achieve financial health. And when you call, you'll receive a free copy of Josh's book, Retirement Reality Check. Tune in every weekend to the financial quarterback and call 888-988-5674 to receive your free copy of Retirement Reality Check.
We get this question periodically on annuities. Go ahead, David. You're on. David with a question
How you
on
doing?
annuities.
Okay. My question is, I have an annuity, and I've had it for about $415,000 in there. I put $100,000 into one of my funds, and it's down 28% right now. Should
Wow.
I just leave it? I don't retire for another 12 years.
Okay. Why do you have a variable annuity if you're not retiring in 12 years, though?
Well, the annuity that we only allowed to pick through certain ones.
Okay.
Through my union.
Okay,
So
I got it. It's a union annuity, like local, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, I got it.
Right, yeah. So am I allowed to say the fund?
I mean, it's probably some S&P linked fund. You can just, do you know what type of fund it is? It's an S&P based fund.
Fidelity Contra Fund.
Yeah, well, I don't like.
And it's got all of them.
Well, I don't like
Facebook
saying
and
names. You could have just said it. Yeah, it's like an S&P
Yeah.
type fund with a little
Yeah,
tech
yeah.
thrown in. Well, I mean, we would have to analyze your different funds in your annuity. Has your risk profile changed? You're 12 years away from retirement, so I wouldn't do anything rash. I'd call us at 888-988. Josh, are you vulnerable to a broad market decline? Sure. Could things go down another 16% from here? Absolutely. Will they? Nobody knows. Talking heads thrive based on fear and greed, sort of like sex sells on, daytime television. In the world of CNBC, if you watch CNBC all day, or on FinTwit or whatever it might be, you'll be aghast. You'll be in this frenzy of fear or this frenzy of greed. You have to say, this is my 27-point checklist. By the way, this is not just a shameless plug. If you did the 27-point checklist, and I'll give you that for free if you call us at 888-988-JOSH, you will be anti-fragile. So what do I mean? I will go to the map and show you my system. So if you look at, I'm going to show you something called the model for financial success, which will give you, by the way, I'm showing it on my YouTube right now, our model and objectives. And there are 5 components of wealth building. And we help people who are worth 50 million and people who are worth 50,000. We have a range of advisors. So we'd be happy to help you with your union pension. Give it a second opinion. But the answer is it depends on your circumstances. Depends on your objectives. So
my circumstances right now, I'm 51 years old. I'm single. I have a couple $100,000 in my savings, and it's just sitting there. So I'm not doing anything with my money right now. So I'm in a really good spot, but I need to do something with it.
Yeah, I would call us 888-988-JOSH. But let me give you some tips. 5 tips that you should review. Cash flow, meaning what are your cash flow needs? That's the green box on the YouTube. Debt. Do you have any debt? Now,
none.
You're single, so you're an eligible bachelor for the ladies listening with no debt. So you're probably better than 90% of the men out there. Maybe you should stay single to keep yourself out of debt. So then we're looking at protection, which means a lot of single people discount protection because they think, well, I don't have any kids. I don't have any legacy goals. Maybe you love a niece or a nephew like a child. Maybe you love a dog like a child. Do you have a pet trust set up? Who's going to take care of Fido? So look at the LEAP model, and protection is the purple. So think of like a castle. We're building a castle. Your moat is the protection. So we want to stock your moat with alligators. What are the alligators? Car insurance. Your car insurance, if you have a significant amount of money, should be perfect. Because you could kill somebody in a car wreck and you could get wiped out. So a lot of people go cheap on car insurance. They go cheap on home insurance. They go cheap on liability insurance. That is the first line of defense. So as we're looking at the model, which I want to blow up on the YouTube, you can call us at 888-988-JOSH. But if you look at this, car insurance is number one, then property insurance, then liability insurance. Umbrella, a lot of people, they don't have $1 million umbrella policy. That is your first line of defense. Second line of defense. So what do? We protected you if you're in a car wreck, your house burns down, if you're sued. Those are three very real problems. Fourth problem, and the biggest problem if you're single, is what happens if you get disabled? Who's going to wipe your bib when you're drooling on yourself? Now you might say, I'm not drooling on myself. We don't know what's going to happen in 20, 30 years. Do you have disability insurance? Do you have long-term care insurance? Do you have a trust set up? If you don't believe in insurance, then you got to have all your assets owned by a trust. So you go in a Medicaid trust if you go in a nursing home. You might say, but I'm 51. Lighten up, dude. Why do you do these things when you're in your 50s or 40s or 30s? Because it's cheaper to buy the insurance, number one. And number two, it's the structure. So you got disability insurance, medical insurance, and government plans. Can you stop going back and forth like that on YouTube? I want to show the big balloon. I can't see it. People can't see it. Vehicle insurance, tell Tom to stop that. Vehicle insurance, property insurance, liability insurance. Then disability insurance, medical insurance, and government plans. Social Security, wills and documents, trusts and ownership agreements. So for example, you're a nice eligible bachelor. Do you have an agreement? Let's say you marry somebody. You want a prenup. You don't want them getting half of your money in a divorce. And then life insurance. So if you set these things up, then you may not need life insurance because you have no legacy, but you may want the type that gives you a long-term care provision. Here's the thing. I used to not believe in long-term care insurance until COVID, because they put all the people that didn't have long-term care insurance in the nursing homes to die. These were governors. These were people who followed the big state edicts. And you know what my clients did who had insurance? They were given in-home care. They used their insurance to buy a nurse that wiped their bib. So the insurance, you may not need it or like it, but you may want it. So I have a provision in my trust that if I become mentally incapacitated, my wife has to put me, I love my wife dearly, but she's got 7 other kids to take care of. If she can't take care of me, meaning wait on me hand and foot, she's got to take my money from my insurance to buy a nurse, put me in the first floor of our house so I can wave to my kids from the deck. I know the room. I want a window, and I'll have a nice bed. I don't want to go in a facility. So if you're single, all those things matter because you said, hey, you don't really have any financial worries. So you might be worried about the stock market, but you got to worry about all these other things because you can control those risks. Then the orange, so purple is like your moat protection. Then you have your golden castle that you're building. Do you have enough in emergency funds? Sounds like you do. Then you look at more safe vehicles like treasuries at 4%, maybe fixed annuities at 4%. I don't know what your company provides. Then you could look at blue, which is growth, which your fund might be a part of that strategy. So you may not want to get rid of that fund. Maybe you want to de-risk half. Maybe you want to de-risk a third. Maybe you want to de-risk a quarter. Generally speaking, you don't sell in a panic. Okay, I'm losing you. Go ahead.
Right now, they got a one that the rest of my money in is 3%.
Yeah, so maybe you have a certain percent, 20% there to weather an economic storm. Or maybe you let it ride on black. I'd have to see your whole picture. But I hope this helps. You want to look at protection, savings, and growth. That's our 27-point model. People worried, I have to sell my Bitcoin to pay my bills. Well, if you followed my model, you wouldn't have to sell your Bitcoin and be an idiot because we have a spot for that. It's in the growth quadrant. It's G7 on the model, where we have real estate, we have businesses or tax shelters. All of it is included in our model. And you don't have to sell if you have a proper plan. But should you be in the amount with the proper position sizing? Position sizing is a big tip. You know, you could have a trade, right? Like you believe in the S&P 500 is going to be greater than it is today. I generally do. You know, 10 years from now, I think stocks are going to be higher. I think Bitcoin's going to be higher. And I have some money allocated towards that thesis, the long-term buy and hold thesis. Then I have some allocated towards trading. So there's a difference between investing and trading. Position sizing is a big principle. You should have no more in a position than you're willing to lose. And if it's creating undue stress between you and your significant other, you and your wife, you and your husband, because you were an idiot and put too much in, well, that's on you. So I'm here to not only save your financial future, maybe even to save your marriage. So call us, 888-988-JOSH. Up next, I'll be talking more about the history of taxes when we return. This is Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
Tune in to the financial quarterback Josh Jalinski this weekend and learn how to protect your financial future in a down economy. Josh and his team at the Jalinski Advisory Group can help you lower your taxes and lower your risk in these uncertain times with a 27-point checklist designed to improve your financial health. Whether you're worried about runaway prices, fear of an upcoming recession, or a stock market meltdown, tune in to the financial quarterback and count on Josh Jalinski to call the play. For a free copy of Josh's book, The Retirement Reality Check, call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674. Or visit Jalinski.org. That's JALINSKI.org. Maybe it seems like prices can't get much higher, or that the stock market is headed for bear territory, or maybe you're worried about another great recession. Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback, can help you protect your family's financial future in times like these. Tune in this weekend to the financial quarterback to hear how Josh and his team can help you decrease your tax liability and lower your risk. Call 888-988-5674 to take advantage of Josh's 27-point plan to achieve financial health. And when you call, you'll receive a free copy of Josh's book, Retirement Reality Check. Tune in every weekend to the financial quarterback and call 888-988-5674 to receive your free copy of Retirement Reality Check.
Okay, we got Joyce. When I first heard the David question, when he said, should he stick with his annuity, I thought he was talking about a fixed annuity. He was talking about a variable annuity, meaning his employer, basically his union, sponsors an annuity pension product. Next up, but I'll talk about why you may want to get your annuity reviewed if you did an annuity within the last 10 years, because rates are higher later. But first, Joyce, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Josh.
Hi.
I have a question. Is there any legislation that will do away with cash?
Any legislation? I mean, I think we're going to a cashless society. I remember I did my show in 2010. We had Gerald Salenti. He's a live wire. We got to get him back on again. And he was talking about a cashless society. We're headed that way. You ever try to get coins? Can't get any coins anymore.
Yeah, right.
Go to your bank and say, I want to take 10,000 out. Good luck.
Yeah.
They'll say, oh, well, we're only allowed to take 3 to 5 grand out. I think we're already there. It just gives us the illusion that we're not. Think about Venmo, right? I'm amazed at how many people use Venmo, and you know your Uncle Joe has a lottery addiction. Your sister gets her nails done twice a week. You know, people just promote now like what they're spending money on an app. I mean, so Venmo, all these things we're headed that way. If we aren't already. I hope I want people to rise up and stand against it, but, I think it's a foregone conclusion, right?
Well, is there any, I'm kind of concerned, but is there any way legally to hide my assets?
Well, I don't know what you mean. You could, take cash out and put it in the bank. Put it under your mattress,
Oh, no.
The old school way.
Put it into gold, put it into silver.
What's that going to do? Gold, that's why Bitcoin's where it is. But gold or silver, that's a good entree into what I want to talk about with gold. According to the Wall Street Journal, to me, gold is almost, not sealed its fate, but gold is down about 8% this year, even though stocks, that's better than stocks, right?
Yeah.
But I thought gold was supposed to go up if we had inflation,
Right.
I think a lot of the reason gold has not gone up is it has a divided market now. Some people are using silver, some people are using Bitcoin. So gold is usually, this is from the Wall Street Journal, is prized by investors for its stability during times of turmoil. For example, in early March, gold settled at a 2022 high of $2,069. Now it is down 8.2% so far this year, on pace for its worst annual performance since 2015. So I'm not an anti, gold if you want to have some as a percentage. It just hasn't done much. And really, there's no utility in gold. You can't eat it. People say, well, what if, it's the end of America as we know it? What if the world is going to hell? Well, do you know how to melt down your gold? Who's going to take it? You'd be better off with one of those, 1-year emergency food supplies and a Catadine or Berkey water filter. Because if we really, if things really got bad, you need to become a suburban survivalist. You need to know how to eat and drink water. So I bought one of those, water filtration systems to turn my pool water into drinking water if there's a crisis. So, people let fear, kind of get them a little crazy, but,
Did you hear about the bill 14067? It's Biden bucks.
I don't know. I'm sure. Yeah, they're trying to do a digital currency, a CBDC, which is the biggest scam known to man. I don't know about Biden bucks or, they're probably talking about how the U.S. is looking at a CBDC. So.
Okay, well, thank you.
So, Pastor Josh said this: guns and ammo hold their value well better than gold if you know what to buy. Maybe true, but still you gotta eat. You gotta go. So I think you'd be better off, going on Costco, buying a year's worth of food supply. They show up with a pallet at your house, and people say, "Oh, what about the end of the world?" Well, you know what? If we're in the end of the world, if we're in the end times, you don't have much to worry about. Yeah. So people are interesting. So, folks, give us a call, 800-321-0710. We'll take our final break of the hour, and then there's an important deadline coming that you need to be prepared for. We'll tell you about that. This is Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
Tune in to the financial quarterback Josh Jalinski this weekend and learn how to protect your financial future in a down economy. Josh and his team at the Jalinski Advisory Group can help you lower your taxes and lower your risk in these uncertain times with a 27-point checklist designed to improve your financial health. Whether you're worried about runaway prices, fear of an upcoming recession, or a stock market meltdown, tune in to the financial quarterback and count on Josh Jalinski to call the play. For a free copy of Josh's book, The Retirement Reality Check, call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674. Or visit Jalinski.org. That's JALINSKI.org.
Okay, this is Josh Jalinski, the financial quarterback. We promised the history of the income tax. I will go to the screen and show you that. That's a very powerful presentation. If you look at the history of income taxes, marginal tax history, why is it important to know? Because everyone from Bernie Sanders to AOC touts the myth that we were in a higher tax bracket years ago and we were at a much fairer economic place. So if you look at this chart, this is a chart of the marginal income tax from inception on YouTube. The income tax, as we know it, started out in 1913. There was a time you made money and you didn't pay income tax on it. Just imagine how good that is. You know, I remember when there's this rush of activity, oh, don't shut the government down. You know what? Shut it down. And send us back our tax revenue. Like, seriously, what are they doing? Oh, well, they're providing schools and roads and bridges. Okay, we'll have a use tax then. So, but it doesn't happen. So 7% was the highest rate at the time. That's why I always thought Herman Cain's 999 plan was idiotic. Because why would we give the government two more methods of taxation? People will say, oh, let's get a national VAT tax, and we'll get a national sales tax, and then we can lower the income tax rate. No. That's how they'll sell it to us, like 999, but then it'll become 666. And then it'll become 60, 60, 60. And you'll have no money left. So check this out, right? 7% was the early rate. So if you did a 401k and you socked money away in 1914, it didn't exist then, and you pulled it out in the 60s, you lost 9 cents of every dollar. No, 91 cents of every dollar. Now, they didn't exist back then, but AOC and Bernie Sanders point out that, you know what, in the 60s, the economy was so much better and rates were 90%. So the solution is, it's like correlation does not equal causation. These people didn't go to logic. I think every politician should go through a mandatory logic course. I think every human. I think we should bring back logic in all public schools. But if you think about it, if you're deferring taxes and rates, the highest rate now is 37%. Highest marginal rate is 37 cents on every dollar goes to the federal government. About 10 cents goes to the highest state income tax coffers, unless you're in Florida or Texas where there's no state income tax. So you could lose 40 cents on every dollar if you're taking an IRA or 401k withdrawal. But what will it be in 20 years when we have all these boomers collecting Social Security like Jim, and they need their Social Security to live? They will vote themselves. They're not going to vote themselves a pay cut. People always say, well, where will Social Security be here? Yeah, Social Security will be here. You just will be taxed 60, 70 cents on every dollar to get there. So the financial tip of the day is consider tax-favored investing. Consider tax diversification. Don't have all your money in tax deferred. Look at tax-free things. Look at things like Roths. Look at things like Roth 403Bs, Roth 401Ks, cash value life insurance, setting up trusts, things of that nature to mitigate taxes in the future. Because your accountant, you may have the best accountant in the world. Accountants are great at being historians. They'll tell you how to save on taxes. Oh, you should have done this last year. Well, I don't care about what I should have been doing because I can't change the past. I can only change the future. So we're futurists at the Financial Quarterback. Call us 888-988-JOSH for your free book, 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-JOSH. I got a message from a lovely friend saying, hearing me this morning has taken off the edge. Well, that's nice. Don't worry. Be happy. Make sound financial decisions and call us at 888-988-JOSH for the free book, Retirement Reality Check, when you schedule and keep your no-obligation review, 888-988-JOSH.
The preceding program was sponsored by the Jalinski Advisory Group.
Any awards, rankings, or recognition by unaffiliated third parties or publications, including 5-Star Wealth Manager, Advisory of the Year finalist by Senior Market Advisor, and top of the $1 Million Roundtable, are in no way indicative of the advisor's future performance or any individual client's investment success. No award, ranking, or recognition should be construed as a current or past endorsement of Josh Jalinski or Wealth Quarterback LLC. Information regarding specific awards, rankings, or recognitions is available on the Wealth Quarterback website at jalinski.org. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. Investment strategies such as asset allocation, diversification, or rebalancing do not assure or guarantee better performance and cannot eliminate the risk of investment losses. There are no guarantees that a portfolio employing these or any other strategy will outperform a portfolio that does not engage in such strategies. This broadcast should not be construed by any client or prospective client as a solicitation to effect or attempt to effect transactions in securities or the rendering of personalized investment advice. Due to various factors, including changing market conditions, the information discussed in this broadcast may no longer be reflective of current positions or recommendations. While information presented is believed to be factual and up to date, Josh Jalinski and Wealth Quarterback do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as a complete analysis of the subjects discussed. The tax and estate planning information discussed is general in nature, is provided for informational purposes only, and should not be construed as legal or tax advice. Listeners should consult an attorney or tax professional regarding their specific legal or tax situation. Investment advisory services offered through Wealth Quarterback LLC.
WOR and WAXP